All right. Can everyone see my screen now? Cool. Awesome. So I think I recognize some of the names from the attendees, and I also see a couple new faces that we haven't met before. So my name is Leon, and we also had Zoe, who had the same virtual background as I do. So we had this initiative called 12 Coffee launched about I think 3 months ago. So what we did so far is we hosted these bi-weekly virtual sessions with the industry leaders from different industries. What we're hoping to achieve is just to bring transparency from the industry to people who maybe get interested into the field, or maybe someone who are looking for who is looking for a job, or like students who are at school and wondering like how to best prepare themselves during this like pandemic. So please, if you know anything else that we can do, feel free to message either me or Zoe. We would be very happy to talk with you. So this evening we had Celia will be giving us a presentation on like talking about how to become a successful applied like AI practitioner or machine learning practitioners. What are the skills required, and how to get there. Personally, myself is a data scientist at Manulife, so I am very interested to know more about like the stuff like Celia will be talking about. So if you have any questions, please go to this web URL, sli.do, and use this hashtag to get to the page. And I think Zoe will also post the link, and you can post your question there. So a little bit background of Celia. I'm pretty sure she will also do a more proper intro of herself as well. So currently Celia is the Chief Customer Officer at Alta ML, which is a very fast growing AI machine learning startup at Alberta. And I think they're also expanding in Toronto area. So before she joined Alta ML, she was working at Deloitte as a senior manager. I had the privilege to meet Celia, I think like 2-3 years ago. I believe I think the first time we met was at a cafe, and it was like a coffee chat from a mutual friend. And I still appreciate Celia like taking her very busy schedule, taking out some time from her very busy schedule and meet me. And before that, she was doing like some work with the government of Alberta, and I also believe she was doing some of her own kind of like a consulting agency. So again, yeah, if you have any questions regarding with anything that we will be talking today, please go to Slido and ask your questions. And I also want to shout out to our collaborators from U of T, U of A, UBC, Centennial College, and also Aggregate Intellect. So without them, this won't happen. So thank you guys so much. That's pretty much it from my side. So Celia, I'm gonna pass it over to you, and yeah, please share your screen and start the presentation.
Sounds great, thank you. Let's try this again. We had some technical difficulties earlier, so you guys can let me know when you see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, yeah, so really appreciate the invitation here from Leon and Zoe to join you guys today. And when we were preparing for this, I guess in our conversation, I was trying to understand what the audience looked like and what would be more beneficial, right? And that's where we landed on this topic. I think you see a lot out there in terms of what technical skills you need to build and how to do so. But I don't see a lot out there in terms of what else. If I'm going to be successful in this career, what other types of skills would I need beyond the technical skills that you have more, maybe a lot more resources available. So that's why we're going to focus today. I do have a few, I had inserted a few polls here I failed to realize that the 12 Coffee Speaker Series had another platform. So we'll see if that works out without further delays. We'll go for those. If not, we can proceed. No problem. So I'll start with a quote here that we tend to use in our presentations to to business stakeholders from Andrew, and that says, "I have a hard time thinking of an industry that I don't think AI will transform in the next several years." And this is now a little bit of an older quote, but one that we still think is very relevant. After joining AutoML in the last 6 months, I've had the pleasure, and I think I see some of my colleagues have joined here today, of seeing us working in like a number of industries: financial services, insurance, agriculture, health, oil and services, oil and gas services, and you name it. So the interest is very ubiquitous, and the opportunities are all over. So how we organized this conversation today, and I do encourage you to use the chat there and post your questions, because we can have a rich conversation after. But there's three topics I wanted to talk to you about. First, what is applied AI and ML? How is that different than at least what is our at AutoML? What is our interpretation of what that means? And once we level set on that interpretation, what would be the requirements for someone to be successful in that space? And knowing those requirements, what would be some very concrete steps you would take to get there? So first, first question I would, first of all, I wanted us to go through. Let's see if this works. I wanted to know who you are. So are you a business student? Are you an engineering student? Are you a software engineer? Are you a project manager? Are you a business stakeholder? So let me know if you can see it there. You can either, if you're in your, which, for most of you who are in your computer, it's probably a bit easier to just do it online on your web browser, or you can also do it on your phone. And after you join, then the next steps will be pretty easy.
I just shared the link in the chat box, so feel free to click the link and join as well.
Thanks, Leon. So it seems that we have, mostly a technical audience and on student base, which I think I'm happy to see that, because that's very much what we had, what we had anticipated. So thank you for participating and clarifying that. So let's go then, through this next one here, and what I wanted, I guess, let's try this again, and I'll ask you to just let me know when you think about applied AI and ML, what would be the first word that would come to you? So I see data, I see more people putting automation, deep learning, models, networks, a lot of focus on automation. Okay. data again, AI, cloud, it's a great one. Algorithms, yeah, great. And predictions. So this is awesome, yeah. Thank you. Let's hope I don't surprise you or I don't disappoint you with what I'm going to show next. When we talk about applied AI and ML, yes, we do think about algorithms. Yes, we do think about predictions, deep neural networks, cloud solutions, and all of those things. But we tend to provide this message with these three concentric circles here. First one is data, and I saw a lot of you mentioned that if there is no data, I think so machine learning is a little bit different than traditional programming, in which you would be heavily focused on rules and and the outcomes from those rules. With machine learning, you definitely need data to be able to understand the patterns in that data and be able to uncover the insights and prediction based types of solutions. You also need a data science team, and it just based on what you had responded previously in the poll, it seems that this is a number of you are in that space and getting an education that will allow you to be I guess more proficient in this space. But there's a third piece there which we believe is incredibly important in the applied AI and ML definition, and that's the domain expertise. So when we work with our clients, we tend to explain this in such a manner that we bring in the data science team and that expertise, but we rely very heavily on them to bring us the data and to bring that domain expertise. And the work on a daily basis, I would say, is quite dependent on that domain expertise. In the first few weeks in the project, you would be asking a ton of questions to really be able to develop better understanding of what that data that's being provided looks like. And as you progress, you need to, that data science team needs to really develop an understanding of what's in it for the client to really solve this particular problem. We look at it through a lens of use cases, and those, each one of those use cases, there's many things that that during the ideation stage that we try to elicit. But I would say that there's three that are very critical. The first one is the problem area, the opportunity. Not uncommon for us to go into these ideation, sessions, and for clients to come up with ideas of problems that we need to solve. But those problems, in many cases, are digital transformation types of problems, but they are not necessarily something we can solve with AI and ML. So what that requires is that you really, not just that your team and yourself understand what those types of problems are, and when AI and ML techniques are applicable or not, but actually that you go through a little bit of an education with your clients themselves, so that they can then go back into just the understanding that they have of their business and the daily challenges, that they can then bring up those new ideas. The second one is the data. Once you cross that, once you cross that bridge, that yes, it's a problem worth solving, and ML AI techniques will be something that you can apply. The clients may not have enough data or the right data. And so we go through a conversation to try to uncover. And what I would suggest here is that we've been successful in many cases with solving problems with not necessarily having access to big data. And it's not uncommon, especially for enterprise level clients, to think, okay, until I have a data lake and I have solved my data governance problems and I have solved my data architecture problems, I can't really even think about exploring AI and ML. And we tend to discourage them to take that approach. Not that those things are not important, but those are generally things that they can tackle in parallel. Those tend to be multi-year initiatives and very hard problems to solve. And the work that gets done as you're looking to apply the AI and ML in many cases is going to be incredibly helpful to those clients to really focus on what pieces of their bigger data problem they tend to solve. So, just today we're presenting to a particular client, and we're able to provide, we got good insights in the models that we've developed. However, there's one specific thing that if they focus on will really move the needle in the types of results we could have as we try to operationalize that model. So knowing that, instead of tackling this overwhelming problem of solving every gap that they may have in their data collection in architecture, it's going to make it a much simpler problem to solve, and that would translate into business value right away. The third pillar there is the return on investment, and that's very tied to how we define success. That's a very interesting one, because and when I think about applying AI and ML, and in some cases, what differentiates us at AutoML and in other organizations I have seen, I think that would be one. We stay very focused on that from day one in ideation to day 100 or 200, or however that may be, in working with the clients, because the clients, it's very easy for us to lose sight of that, because the problems are interesting, the techniques are interesting, you are discovering things every day, but you may very well go into a direction where you are no longer solving a problem that's worth solving, and you are or you are investing more time and effort and resources that would be needed to solve that specific problem. And I'll touch on that a little bit later on, understanding the right point to stop. So I think with return on investment, that would be my key point there. Not only do you have to understand that at the beginning, but don't lose sight of it throughout the process. And what are the requirements to be successful in AI and ML? Let me get you guys this other poll here. And I'll ask you to just think about what you would believe would be the biggest barrier to entry. Is it the technical knowledge, the business knowledge, formal education, which I see many of you are pursuing? Okay, technical knowledge. Okay, seems that we have a trend there, that the winner, most people think, is really that technical knowledge. I would say that that's fairly common, fairly common answer, and not that it is wrong, but I would say there's more to it than the technical knowledge. So if you look at this picture here, and just the tagline there, like in my opinion, and this may be my opinion just based on working with our data science team in the last many months, and my prior role at Deloitte as well. What was required to be successful as a data scientist a few years ago is no longer what is required to be successful today. So the role is evolving, like any role in any industry that's going through such a large growth. Yes, you continue to need to have that technical knowledge and potentially that formal education, to perform well, to know the algorithms and to have your toolbox really well understood, so that you can perform at a high level. But there are other things that are now other facets of knowledge that are now coming into play, and if you want to really be successful, I would say those are things you're going to have to start to be paying attention to. So first one there, and you may have seen this data science life cycle. That's how Microsoft presents it. We have other ways we present it. Like, it seems like IBM has a very interesting way to present it. I've seen multiple representations, but as you go from one to another, the elements tend to be quite similar. And not that I'm planning to walk you guys through it. I guess my background is in computing science, but I'm not a data science myself, so I'll do probably a very poor job in going through the entire explanation. But what I said before is still true. There's still high expectation that you are very well versed, that you are quite comfortable with the processes, with what's required, and in some cases even more, that you are more specialized. So I know in our company specifically, we have a team that specializes in natural language processing, a team that specializes in computer vision, people who will be better in deep learning and reinforcement learning and all of those things. So yes, yes, you need to know these things. But what I would say is that it's pretty much taken for granted that you will know these things and that you will be, quite proficient, and that you have the ability not only to know them already, but to be constantly watching the developments in this space. In many cases, we have done projects in which we have used, techniques that are only in a university paper. Like they're not being commercially utilized yet, and yet that was the best solution to that problem. So I would say, know your basics, become very proficient in terms of how the process works, understand if you're going to specialize in a particular technique or another, but also be constantly learning. The next one here is software engineering, and this is an interesting one. I know, very near and dear to my heart, because as I have conversations with our VP of data science, one of the constant struggles is how the profession is evolving and how things are changing. So for example, the idea of what does the role of an ML engineer look like? What does the role of a data scientist look like? And what size of a company would you need to have or to be working in for those to be separate roles? And how does that work? And what about people who need both? So what we have found is that more and more, it's really important that that the data scientists, professionals, that they have a pretty solid understanding of software engineering, particularly as it relates to the best practices. So you may not be required to be putting something in production, because you may have an ML engineer that's specialized in that, or you may not be required to develop a front-end software that's going to be what invokes your models. But it's more and more required that as you think about developing ML models, that you apply some of those long-standing best practices that are utilized in software engineering. And this one is pretty critical. So you'd have seen it at the center of my circle there. and it is a business mindset. Um, so I said before that the domain knowledge we tend to, we tend to insource those from our clients, but you still need to be able to understand it. You still need to be open to use it, to knowing how you're going to apply that domain knowledge into the work that you're doing in your development. Business value and ROI. So we spoke at this at length before, and it is don't lose sight of what's, why you're solving a particular problem. It may be very interesting. The technique may be very interesting, but if there's no value, it's probably gonna, it's probably gonna die and not be operationalized and not utilized. And it does happen, like has happened to me, it has happened to our teams that clients get carried away, we get carried away, you get to the finish line, and wow, but there's a particular reason as to we will never use this, even though it looks beautiful. And that integration in the business workflow. So there's a lot of conversations we're having now which relate to the adoption of AI and ML solutions. And that will not happen successfully if you don't start to think about how it's going to play. There's, in most cases, there will be a human in the loop. There are other solutions that that those business stakeholders already utilize in performing their jobs, and you need to understand at what point of that business workflow is your solution going to be integrated. And how do you get there? So I guess, this definitely like my own views here, and not necessarily outside emails. I would say be naturally curious about the clients and their problem domains. So clients will spend hours talking to you about what they know. Take advantage of that, right? So if you're in agriculture and that's what that client knows, the more you understand about those domains, the better outcomes you're going to have in the models that you develop, in the solutions that you create. Second point there is understand the point of diminishing returns. We have concrete examples in which you get to a particular level of accuracy, and it's already, the number may not look awesome, but it's already millions of dollars in savings for that client. So yes, you could spend another 6 months to try to improve accuracy and some of the usual metrics we see in machine learning. However, is that worth it? Or would that client be better off just putting something in production right now and starting to realize the benefits from that before you go into another round of optimization? Be open. So there's platforms that are evolving. And we do a lot of what we do today is custom development. However, that's something we have to keep an eye on. So Microsoft, Google, Amazon, there's a lot of money that goes into those platforms, and there are certain problems that you may be better off by starting with those platforms, solving some of those problems. I guess one that I'm particularly maybe biased on is the problem of chatbots. It's a hard problem to solve, and some of these larger platforms have good starting points for those. So you have to understand, like, do I need a very highly specialized that's going to be a differentiator in this particular area, and therefore I'm going to apply all the custom development effort to it, or should I be looking also at platforms that can speed up my development? Adopt storytelling. So we talk a lot about this, and then we're actually taking a course this week around storytelling, and then our teams are we want 100% of our data scientists to get trained on data storytelling. If you tell a boring story, if you go for a presentation with hundreds of slides, you will lose your audience, and sometimes, I've seen just such amazing results that the worst thing we want to happen is that those results are not valid, and that people don't fully understand the potential. Learn how to play in the cross-functional sandbox. Critical one. your teams will be, you won't be working just with technical folks. You will have business analysts, you will have project delivery, project managers, you will have software developers, DevOps engineers, like business folks, Scrum masters, like you name it, and you need to really understand where you bring your strength and how you collaborate with those cross-functional teams. I like this. I like to show a few quotes, and the message there is that the results will show. I think I've been incredibly happy with what I hear from. I do these customer success reviews, and I'm I try to attend as much as possible of our final presentations and projects, and first one there. This is fascinating. It's more than we ever known and we have ever known about our own data. So even though we bring our clients and say, you're the domain expert and we need you, by the end of it or at the middle of it, they will tell us, you know what, you've helped me through this journey to understand more about my data than I ever thought possible. And that cannot be done just with the technical skills. So that's, I think, just if I were to bring you back to the theme of the presentation, it takes a combination of those skills for you to achieve results like this. So going back to to my profile there, I guess the one point I would like to make here is that as Lewan said, we met at my time at Deloitte, and I, a few months back, I was invited to leave that path, to abandon that path, which was, a pretty good path, and join AutoML. And the reason I did that was pretty much because I saw so much potential to join an organization that, I think, our mission is to really elevate human potential through AI, and when we take a business approach to it and an applied AI and ML approach to it, and I've been pretty happy so far that we've been able to just literally help so many clients in so many different industries, and I would encourage you to connect with me on LinkedIn for additional conversations. As Lewan mentioned, we have expanded into Toronto, so we have an office in Edmonton, an office in Calgary, and an office in Toronto. Our primary talent pipeline comes from the U of A, which is known globally for the depth of our researchers. So headquarters in Edmonton, but we want to serve. We are already working with clients globally, and we want to really, bring the best of Canada to the world. Some useful resources there. So I don't know, I think Lewan, probably this gets shared later, so that's why I added. You probably have a ton of sources already for the technical knowledge, but I found these ones that contain a little bit of that outside of the circle, which more like how do you connect more like how you connect the outside of the circle with the inner circle of the business mindset. That's it for me, Lewan. So I'm not entirely sure how we moderate the questions.
Yeah, sounds good. I will start presenting my screen. Thank you so much, Celia, for giving such awesome talk. I definitely can't agree you more on the chatbot point. Like so many mature platforms already offer very mature solutions, and building it from scratch, it just I think it just take too much effort and not worth it. Okay, cool. So first we'll just go through some of the questions that we gathered while everyone signed up. So here is the first one. So could you share your experience as a chief customer officer at AutoML? What is your day-to-day responsibilities like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a great question. I was intrigued when I was invited to join AutoML, and that was the title. So I think I mentioned to you, my background is in computing science, and I come from Brazil. But I've been spent most of my career in the solution architecture space. And in the last few years at Deloitte, was leading our team here in technology strategy and architecture space. So I've done a lot of work in terms of large program implementations and like SAP, and, and you name it. And when I was invited to join AutoML, the mission was to build a delivery capability. I think our founders Corey and Nicole had built an extremely talented team of technical resources. So we had over 40 people, many of them with PhDs and masters. I see some of them here today, and they started to notice that that team needed help to be successful. They needed more of that business mindset. They needed additional professionals to do for that from that cross-functional team to be able to liaison with clients, to really moderate the message, to do like the business analysts, delivery managers, and they also said, and that's not all. We also need to ensure that when we sell something, that we only sell what we can deliver, and that when we deliver, that it's truthful to what we sold. So that's the customer experience division. The mandate is to provide excellence in what we do, and it's the combination of project delivery, management, and business analysis, sales like business development, and our data science capability. So it is really, I would say, it is an attempt at providing the orchestration of what you would have seen in that circle.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's delivery is a very hard part of the whole kind of like a life cycle. I think it's very easy for us to make POCs, prototypes, some toy examples to show, oh, we got accuracies of like more than 85%. But then when we actually need to deliver the project, it just requires so much effort from all different kind of like components, architecture, setup, all the access controls and stuff. And yeah, that definitely makes sense. And they definitely need someone to be there and help them finishing the project. So next question. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, like I would say that even just to add to that, Lewan, even like managing clients' expectations, right? So sometimes the expectations are very high, and our technical teams need additional resources that will be having those conversations and managing those expectations.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So the next question is, what do you think makes someone really successful in your area of work? I guess here the question is a little bit vague, so maybe you also need to get like clarified on your area of work. What does that mean actually?
Yeah, and maybe I'll just answer as I think maybe more broadly, right? In AI and ML, and I'd say that that's a lot of what we talked about would be probably applicable. I would say focus on the applied piece of it. Unless you're in research and you're going to stay in academia and that's your focus, right? But if you're going to be in industry, then you have to apply an industry focus to what you do. So I would say that that's probably, yeah, don't lose focus of the industry and industry problems and tackling them that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those 2 points are business domain knowledge, technical suite, and define the return of investment. So I think those are definitely very key to for data scientists to be successful. So next question is very strict. So how can I join AutoML? What's the best way? And I also heard about you guys are doing a very cool initiative. Is it called AI Lab or something? And I think that is really cool. Can you also talk a little bit more about that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. So we do, I guess, our website, go to our website, and there's always, the postings are all there. We always have interns working with us. We're a big believer in our talent pipeline coming from the universities, the various universities. We are very interested in building a talent pipeline and connections with University of Toronto as well. To your question around a more recent program we launched on October 1st, it's called the Applied AI Lab. So that's an internship program that we run, between now and 2023. We plan to have about 240 interns go through that program in different cohorts. First cohort started on October 1st. For those 8 positions, we had 500 applicants in the first 2 weeks and then we shut down because we couldn't manage more than 500 applicants. So that's incredibly successful. I would say almost beyond what we expected. So we had the original conversations with City of Calgary. That's a program that is headquartered in Calgary. And through their funding, they contribute a portion of money towards that program. And then they said, but if you can, this is only going to go ahead if you can find industry partners. And we found more industry partners than we anticipated as well. So clearly there's an interest. The idea is to really, as many of you may know, there has been a heavy focus in energy and resources in our economy, and we do believe that AI and ML are enablers of all industries that we are strong in. So the key the key fundamentals behind that program are to really upskill, reskill, strengthen the tech industry in Alberta, and we're seeing a rather positive uptake on that.
Awesome. 240 interns. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So I guess I just want to ask a follow-up question. So to define intern, does this person needs to be at school, or like a new grad or someone who came from like some other background but just not currently in school are still eligible to apply?
Yeah, good question. So we, in the first cohort, we have some new grads, and we have people who have been in other careers and have done a lot of training themselves in this particular space. So the difference from this internship, so the internship that we run more regularly are people who are still in finishing their program in computer science, either in a graduate program or undergraduate program. How this one is different, this Applied AI Lab, is first of all, we're accepting different types of profiles, because it has this intent of reskilling professionals as well. But also the way the program is outlined. So we'll provide a mentor, and those interns will be working. They're going to be executing a project similar to what we would in one of our paid projects, right? So that industry partner will provide the use cases, will provide the data, and these interns will be executing those projects under supervision of one of our mentors, and fully embedded in our teams, but utilizing the processes that we utilize to deliver our projects. So pretty cool experience from day 1 to day 90 to go through an entire project.
That's so awesome. Really, thank you guys for making this happen. I think that's a very cool initiative. And yeah, if anyone is interested, please keep an eye on the AltaML website. And if you see a slot, don't hesitate to apply for sure. So the next question, can you tell us a bit about the resume of your last hire for data science position? What was special about him or her? I'm not sure if you are directly hiring data scientists, but like maybe just talk about like a resume that kind of like impressed you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah. So I don't yeah, I shouldn't be trusted to hire the data scientists because, as I said, I'm not. That's not my area of expertise. Our VP of data science, together with the team leads, are doing the hiring. We have just very interesting experiences. So I would say all the way from people who have only been in academia, but through their period in academia, they have been doing just amazing things, published a lot, and have come from very good universities, and in most cases very good programs, have had supervisors who are also incredibly good. But we also have people who have come from the U.S., for example, and worked in utilities there for many years in this particular space. We have folks who have had like a career in healthcare and then retrained in the space. So I would say that that's the biggest one of. Every Friday we have this all hands meeting, at 1:30, and it starts with a presentation of a new employee, and we're backlogged by quite a bit because we have more people starting than we can get through presentations. But what I love about those presentations is the diversity. So we have people from all over, and with very diverse backgrounds. So one thing, if you look at our website, one of the things you will see there is that we there's a blurb we put in every position, and we say, if don't get discouraged if you don't check every single item of what we're asking for. If you feel you're the right person for this, we want to hear from you.
Awesome, thank you. So I think this is the last question on this list. It's a very long one. What are the type of entry-level positions, career path that might be appropriate for a student pursuing a career in AI? Do you have any advice for students to build their skill sets in AI? Do you have any job search yet? These are like a series of questions, I guess. Maybe just like pick one or two that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I would say that these internships are amazing opportunities, right? So the caveat there is that you have to know, it's not your first step. You have to get some training. You have to do a bit of preparation before you qualify for some of those internships. I do see a lot of people that I know that will talk to me, and they may have been in a data analyst type of position, right? A data wrangler, and that's how they started their career. And then they start to take more and more courses and apply it. Try to find, even in their current job, try to find ways to apply that knowledge. There's a lot of stuff out there like Kaggle competitions, like millions of ways that one can do more upskilling before you find an opportunity. So I would say that go apply yourself, to get in like some of those initial skills first, and there's always the question of and I keep seeing that in multiple articles. Do I need a PhD? So we don't only hire PhDs. Yes, we have amazing PhDs as well. So I'd say it's go for a PhD if it's right for you, and if you're going to put the energy and if it's going to make you feel happy. But it's not necessarily that we only hire a PhD.
Okay, awesome. So I think that's all the questions I prepared on this deck. For the next last about like 10 minutes, we'll just go through the questions that our audience asked on the Slido. We don't have a lot today, so hopefully we can finish right on time. So the first question is how to land your first job. Kind of like the same question that we just asked. When you're coming from a non-technical background, okay, that's an interesting one. like
Mhm.
non-technical background. And any comments, suggestions on that question?
Very much, I would say think about what you want to do. So if you want to do, I think through our conversation today, I hope it's become very clear that there are multiple types of jobs, right? So this is a cross-functional team. So we have people who are deeply interested in this space, and but they didn't necessarily want to become a data scientist or an ML engineer. So they've joined our team to become like a delivery manager, and they still have gone through some courses, and they understand how to do it, but they don't. That's not. They don't want to completely shift to it. So I would say if you would consider, if you like this space but don't necessarily want to become heavily technical, there are different functions you can perform as part of that team and be part of the the delivery of some of those engagements, or even building those products, right? So we have product managers in our product division that are not heavily technical, and yet they need to know it to a certain extent to be able to have good conversations.
Awesome. So the next question, which I kind of upvoted, it's about like the characteristic or styles that Altima is looking for when you guys are hiring data scientists. I guess like for a good team, you kind of need like a very diversified team. But then, yeah, I just found like this question very interesting. Yeah, do you have any comments on this question?
Yes, I would encourage you to look at our values. So in our interviews, we apply that when we have conversations, when we do strategic planning, in everything we do, we talk about our values, right? And we want you to be happy. And by happy, we say we want you to tap dance to work. We want you to be agile and really listen to the data and be able to shift. We want you to be gritty and not give up. So look at our values there, and that's going to give you a very good indication of the type of people, and want you to be humble as well. And that's quite an interesting one. And I think I misspoke there. Like I said, humble is, we define it as listening to the data. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to be confident. We want you to be confident, right? But we don't want you to be so confident that you don't listen to the data.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think like I said, I think a successful team, they need both kind of like extrovert, more extrovert people and more introvert people. But then no matter what kind, they all need to be like positive and then just like hardworking and like continuous learning. Those are all the same, like applied across like different kinds of like styles and characteristics, right? So yeah, so next question is what specific software skills are essential for a successful career in AI? This one might be very specific. Um, yeah.
Yeah. But if you have, for example, I'm not the right person to give you all the right, the right tools and things you should learn. But our teams primarily work with Python, and I know that there's a few specific libraries. We try to be very focused on open source libraries. But also we use, and I think somebody, when we talked about the things people should know, somebody had mentioned cloud. So we do encourage our teams to be proficient. We tend to be vendor agnostic, but we encourage our teams to get certified and to be quite knowledgeable in the multiple big platforms such as Microsoft Azure, AWS, and Google. So all of the AI ML suite in those big platforms are things you should be looking at.
Yeah, I think those standard packages just share across all the like teams that doing machine learning using Python, really. NumPy, scikit-learn, TensorFlow, those kind of stuff. And
That's
then
it. Yeah.
for the cloud, platforms, I knew at Deloitte, then it would be depending on what does the client use. If it's government, they probably on Azure. So like Azure certificates would help. If it's startup, maybe it's GCP or AWS, then the other like certificates may help. So it would be depending. So, and I think for Alta ML, you guys are also working with client, right? So I guess that would be a similar kind of like a setup. So yeah, it depends on who the client is, and that will be different in the platforms that they use. So next one is, what major and specialization should one take to have a career in the AI sector? Major.
Yeah, that's as I said, like, our teams have, so we have geophysicists, we have people who are biochemists, we have engineers, we have computer scientists. So that's the answer there would be quite tough because people tend to be attracted to this coming from multiple different sources. And what I have found is that in the times where we can do the right combination of the background of that person, right? So it's for somebody that has come from a health background and being the data scientist in a health project, that's even like more powerful.
Yeah, I think I have also seen like a very diversified background in data science like field, and also I think what might be helpful is if you knew you were to interview with AltaML, if you can have a virtual coffee with someone in the team, and maybe they can tell you, oh, we are looking for someone more focused on NLP or more focused on like a medical data, that might be helpful. So I think in terms of like general major and specialization, it won't be like a definite answer. So you can be coming from any kind of background as long as you know the skills and you know the field, and that should be you should be able to nail it. So next question, I think this might be the last one. So I'm interested in machine learning and computer vision. What are your suggestions or challenges? Oh, okay. I think this one is very technical as well. Challenges, you see
Yeah.
new people struggle in this area. Yeah.
What I would say is that so we have quite we have very good talent, and you would know Lewan coming from the U of A in this space, and well, what I see some of the challenges that we face in that particular area. In many cases, is the quality of the image of the data. So clients will want to go through a computer vision a problem, and but they don't have the, they may have pictures that I have taken with their iPhone, and it's just not to the level that would be required for us to have strong results. So our team tends to have a lot of conversations to advise people on to do a bit of an assessment and advise clients on how far they need to go before they can achieve some good results.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about like the industry setup, doesn't really matter which specific area, computer vision or NLP, they are just like tools to solve the business problem, right? So then the business problem and the data quality is the same in no matter like which area. And then we kind of need to, yeah, like, truly understand what the client needs. And sometimes the deep learning stuff that we learn from all those like fancy CNN networks may just not work. It may need to go fall back to the basic image processing or computer vision techniques to solve, in order to solve the problem. And sometimes like that, those like classic or like traditional algorithm could just work and provide you enough performance, and then you don't really need to apply something like very new, and then you'll be facing the diminishing of like a return, like that Celia mentioned before. So I guess the problem is the same no matter which area from my perspective, but then yeah, and it's but there are like different kinds of like gaps between here and there. So
yeah, great point there. Yeah, so just because you can use deep learning, it may not be the right tool, right? So it's, yeah, we see that over a lot of very simple techniques and algorithms that will apply to problems and still get strong results.
yeah, I also see like as an NLP practitioner, I also saw sometimes like the regular expression, a complex version, it's just like working very well comparing with some like the like state of the art NER tools. So yeah, it's surprising and sometimes even like a little bit disappointing, but I guess that's the way it is. So yeah, truly understand the data, listen to the data, as you just mentioned. So which is very important, no matter which area that you're working at. Okay, I think that just like wraps up today's session. Celia, I just want to thank you again for taking your time and speak with us and everyone online. Special thanks to the ones who still have your camera open. I really appreciate that effort. That's very important to us. So going forward, we may send out some like emails asking for new ideas. Just keep an eye on that. So yeah, anything else, Celia, you wanna say, or just like some other comments?
Yeah, no, just thanks for the invite, and yeah, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you have more questions, I'd be happy to answer that way.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Celia. All right, have a good night, everyone. Yeah,
Bye.
thanks.
Bye, everyone.